I'm Ryan. In this video we're going to be cleaning the carburetor on a 2000 model XR200R. This video will apply to other XR models and lots of common trail bikes. Prior to this I have ran the bike for about 2 minutes but didn't turn the fuel tap on, so that would have drained all the fuel out of the bowl while the motor was running. So we won't have any fuel still in the carburetor. And also, just to be safe, I've put some cardboard under the bike. To start off, we're going to be pulling both side covers and the seat off the bike. So all the sockets I've used so far have all been 10mm, but now to remove the seat. We've got two 10mm bolts just here, so we'll undo them, then the seat will slide backwards. So now the covers are all off, we've got 4 things to do. Disconnect this side, the top, and all the fuel lines. Okay, so now we've got these nuts undone. Over this side we've got a hose clamp, which is a Phillips head. So I've opened up the hose clamp as wide as it will go, and because I can't pull it off, I'm going to just sit one of the nuts back on so I can pull against it. Okay, so that's just one of the nuts on, and we're just going to try and wiggle it off. That one came off pretty easily. Let's get the whole thing. Because the carburetor's got to come backwards off the motor, we're going to need to get the whole thing out of the way. So, I'm going to have to pull it right back and off. There you go. So that's sitting on the other side, and then that's the clamp. So, yeah, so we'll just whip that nut off again. Okay, so you've got a few hoses coming off of it. There's one down the bottom here. Okay, that one there. Don't ask me what they'll do, but yeah. And now over the other side we have got an overflow and the main fuel in. So I'm just going to pull both of them off. Okay, so I managed to get the 2 other hoses off, and I used the pointy nose pliers to pull them off because they're a bit tight, and I still did get a bit of petrol over my hands. So now we've got to pull the throttle cable out. So we're just going to unscrew the top of it. That'll allow us to just pull the whole thing out. And it has got a spring on it, so it is pretty tight to turn. Okay, so I'm going to drop the whole carby off, just to try and get it a bit lower. I find the carby goes out better on the other side, so I'm going to get it down there. Just pulling this whole thing out. You've got to be careful with the pin too, so that comes out all in one piece. Just drop the carby out the other side. Come on. Okay, so that's the carby. I'm going to keep the carby upright because it may still have a bit of petrol in it. I've got a nice clean rag here, which I'm going to put down the inlet and around the whole throttle, so no dust and dirt gets on it and nothing falls down the motor. That'll be a extra long weekend pulling the whole motor off. I wrapped it around there and just put it all around here too. To start off with, we're going to take the bowl off the bottom. So we're not going to touch this screw at the moment. That is the fuel mixture screw, and we will get to that in a minute. Do not turn it. Now I know there's probably going to be a bit of fuel left in the bottom, so I'm not going to tip it around and all that while I'm undoing the screws. Okay, so I'm going to keep track of where everything is, so I'm just going to set them all over there. So I'm going to put everything in groups tonight, so I sort of remember where they all go. Oh, bit of fuel's coming out of my fingers. Okay, so I'm supporting the bottom of the bowl as I take this last third screw out. Set that there. Now, this will simply just lift up and off. So I might need to wiggle it around a little bit. Come on. Right. So I've still got quite a lot of fuel in it. So I'll just set the whole thing down there now. And so I've still got some fuel in the bottom here. So I'm just going to go tip that. Oh, well. That's a little piece of plastic. It's actually meant to be sitting on the main jet. So we'll get to that afterwards when we go to put it all back together. Mine's fallen off. I'll just tip it into a little ice cream container. That's actually going to be my wash container. Okay, so that's the bowl. Mine's pretty clean as compared to other ones. They are pretty dirty, so we'll clean everything anyway, but mine is pretty clean. Okay, so next we've got the float and needle. So the whole thing that this is pivoting on is a little pin that sits between there. So mine normally falls out. Just gonna hit it like it's coming out. Okay, so I'll hold it up like that, pull the pin out, so the whole thing's just dropped a bit then, and we'll just lift the whole system up. I'll sit down the carby. Now, sitting on that little pin sort of thing there is the needle. So that just simply slides off on its piece of wire. So we can sit down the float there. Now this looks to be in good condition because it's at quite a lot of a point. So some of them wear down, so that looks alright. So we'll just sit that there, we can reuse that. Okay, so the carby looks in parts now, but we'll get to our jet tonight in a bit. But for the moment, we're going to look at our fuel mixture screw. So that is the one that I said don't touch before, because they are hard to sort of adjust and all that, and that's the whole mixture. So we're going to get our flathead screwdriver, and this is on the outside of the carby, so you can still adjust it when it's on the back, I guess. So yeah, we're going to screw it in, and we're going to count how many turns we go in. So just get it in there nicely. Yep. There. So we're going to do quarter of a turns. Okay, can't keep it in there. So 1/4, half, 3/4, 1. And the Honda 200 is meant to have 1 1/8 of a turn, so that just did 1/8 of a turn as it just went past then. So I'm happy with where that was, so now we can pull it out. So just wind it straight back out, and it's going to have a little spring in there, so you need to be careful of that too. Pull it out, and that's the spring. It came out all in one piece. But normally that spring will stay in there, so you've got to be careful of that. Okay, so now we are going to look at the jets tonight. So we've got the main jet here and the pilot jet. So the pilot jet does all the low RPM and the main jet does all the high RPM. So we'll just get a little shifter and pull off the top of the jet if we can. And the whole thing's going to come out. I guess we can just pull the whole thing out at the moment. We'll look at that in a minute. Screwing it out, and you can see all the holes in it, but we'll have a look at the jets in more detail in a minute. And we'll pull out the pilot jet. And that's a smaller length one. Okay, so I think we're mainly apart. I'm just going to whip the choke off, so I'm going to dip it all in petrol to clean it. We've got a big screwdriver. Now this thing's got a few washers and all that underneath the choke. I'll just pull this screw out. I'll set that over there. That little clip comes off. Over there. Now you don't have to worry about the little ball bearing falling out because it's actually in there, so I was a bit nervous to start off with, but okay, so there's our little washer on the underside of it. So that's actually what the choke pivots on, just to make it a bit smoother. Okay, so that's the carby all off and all that. You've got your idle adjustment up here. I don't pull that out. They're a bit hard to sort of deal with and all that, so I just don't really touch it. And yeah, it's no real point because it doesn't adjust any fuel or anything. It just winds in and out to adjust the throttle up and down. So you've got your little choke here. That's the little thing that turns on. That's the fuel in. So that goes straight from the tank into there. Above the thread for the choke, you've got your overflow. So that'll go out there. And I think that's all. Right, so that's the bore where the throttle slides, and that's the airbox side and the engine side. Okay, so now we start on the cleaning process. So I've got an ice cream container over here, and I've got a toothbrush. Okay, so now this is full of fuel, we're going to start the cleaning process. So I'm going to start with the jets. So they've actually got holes in them the whole way down. So we're going to put them up to the light and just see if we can see through them. So just hold them up. And there's, as you turn it around, there'll be more jets. Okay, so I can see through all of mine, and I'll just check the pilot jet too. Okay, so I can see through all of the jets. If you couldn't see through them, which I couldn't when I last rebuilt the carby, I would, well, I swish them around in the water, well, petrol, but yeah, you can get a wire brush and use your pointy nose pliers and pull out one of the brush bristles sort of thing, and use that as a bit of a poker, because they're smaller than a paper clip or anything like that. So you want to make sure they're clean, and also through that way. So you should be able to look down that end and see out that end, which I can. So it's only a small hole, and I can do it with the pilot jet too. So it's only small, but you can see down there. So I'm just going to sit them in there. They'll just marinate, sort of thing. You've got your needle adjust, or fuel adjust. Just sit that in there too. Other than that, I'll just put all my screws and all that in there too. Just put everything in. Put all these things in too. And the choke thing. They can go into all the needle and seat and all that. Yeah, they'll float. Okay, so a little bit of plastic can go into. Nuts. Okay, so that's everything bar the carby itself. So, and the bowl. I'll just get the floats out because it'll annoy me. So this rag here I'm just going to use to dry it before it sits out there. So the bowl, I'll just sit it in there for a minute. Let it all, the dirt soak into the fuel, or the fuel soak into the dirt. And put a bit of fuel in it. And we'll just use the toothbrush and just go around and clean it out. I'll just clean the outside too. I'm at it. And this bolt down the bottom, what I think it is because it goes down there, all the dirt should go down into there. So you can just undo that bolt and just take all the dirt out, I guess. So that's a cool idea. If you want to use it, you can. Now the whole carby and all that, I like to get a can of carby cleaner or something like that. I've been using WD-40 on it. I don't know whether that's good or what, but that's what I've been using a bit. I just spray it down all the holes. So I'm going to go get that now, and yeah, up through all the jets and everything, just make sure everything's all clean. And you can spray it down all the fuel holes and everything too. But for now, I'm just going to dunk it in petrol and just let it sit for a minute while I go get the WD-40. Okay, so just pulling the carby out. That's been sitting in there for a little bit. Now, I couldn't find any WD-40 or anything like that, so I've got RP7, sort of removing grime and all that sort of thing. And it says starts wet motors, so it's obviously okay to go into the motor, I guess, so that'll be alright to spray around and all that. So I've got the choke past way sort of things. Just need to make sure it's flat on there. Find a straw's good too, so spray it down there. You can actually see it coming out the bottom. That one's coming out there. I think they're all just going everywhere. Other than that, we'll spray it up here, and you should see it coming out in there. Yeah, there's always too much going through, so it'll all bubble out and all that. This one I can actually see out of, the main jet, because it's going straight up. Yeah. I'm literally just spraying everything in everything. Any little hole or anything. As long as it's not tight, because if it's too tight or anything, like the fitting in it, yeah, stuff will come back out, not like forced through sort of thing. Yeah, if you get what I'm saying. I don't know. Spray it all around here, try and remove anything. Down there. Got a bit of dirt out in there. Just soak it back in petrol again. Now we're going to get our toothbrush and just go over the whole carby and all that. Just going to go down the bore in a circular motion. Don't use anything too rough, like a hard toothbrush or anything. I've got the soft toothbrush here, and that's working quite nicely. I just checked that none of the bristles and all that are all loose or anything. You wouldn't want one coming off in the carby or anything. Okay, just do one last dip. So I'll just put that up there, and this come out for a minute. So, toothbrush up there. Just going to go in and get everything out. Now, petrol isn't real good for your skin and all that, so if you want to, you can use a rubber glove or something like that. Look at all the dirt in the bottom of the ice cream container. It's quite a lot of dirt we got out of the carby today, so now we're going to start putting it all back together. So I'm going to start with putting the main jet in, so the main jet being the bigger one. Just put that in. We'll put the pilot jet in next. Screw it down. When tightening the main jet, we want to make sure that the top part of it is being tightened too, so I normally just tighten that, and that means it's all going to be equal when it's tightened, because that does come out, but if you can see through it and all that, it doesn't need to come out. So if you just wind that in there too. Start double checking. Okay, got a bit more on that. Now what? So we'll put in our little sort of fuel mixture thing. That just goes in this side one. Now we can adjust this when it is on the bike, but I'm going to put it back to my normal setting, so we're going to wind it right in, but I will set it after we put the bowl on there. I'm just going to wind it right in, and I have 1 1/8 of a turn out, so just until it seats. So you don't need to crank it in tight, because you'll start wrecking things. And this is all brass and all that, so you don't want to go too tight or you'll start stripping threads. So it's just until it seats, and just a firm, so yeah, not too tight. Okay, so now we've got our float and the needle and all that. So we'll just set the little pin sort of thing back on the sort of seat thing. Doesn't matter what way it goes on, just as long as it's on there. Yeah, if we can get it down its little hole and get our little pin and slide it through. Now if you tip it up on an angle from now, it will fall out, so try and just keep it level. I think that's all from in there. So we can get our bowl and just, oh no, this little bit of plastic here. Where it goes, sit that like that, just fall, if I can. Yeah, put the pin back in. It sits up on the main jet, and it's got little groove things that it sits in. But mine's really loose. I don't really know what it does, but yeah, what they say is put the bit of little teeth sort of thing in hot water, we'll bend them in and sit it on there, and it'll sort of stay on there a bit better. Yeah. So it goes on the second one. So I've just set that on there like that. I'm not going to worry about doing too much more to it. Yeah, so that's on there like that. So now we've just got our 3 screws that go in the bottom. Just sit them all in there. Quickly do them up. This screwdriver doesn't really fit them that well, so I'll use the other one to tighten them. And again, these just need to be tight, they don't need to be stripped, so just firm. This other one, this just fits them a bit better, so just tight. Okay, so now we're going to put all the choke assembly back on. So we've got our little washer thing. So the whole thing sits like that. Oh, like that. So, does it? What's it do? It sits like that. So we'll just put that little washer on it and put the whole assembly on. Now this sort of nut bolt thing has got its own washer on it. So and we will set our little pin thing on. Where does it go? Go like that? Yeah. It's got a little curve in it, so I'm going to put it so the curve part's pointing down like that. So that'll just sit on there like that. Yeah, so it goes on that way facing down. Just nip this up. Okay, so you've got to make sure your little ball bearing sort of thing is on. Wait, it might go the other way. Okay, so we'll snip this on. Okay, so that's just up firm. Yeah, I might just back that off a little bit because it is a bit tight to move. Just up firm. That's a bit too tight still. Still a little bit too tight. Alright, so I'm happy with that. That's right. Back it off a little bit more. Yeah, that's nice. That's all. So we're all back together, so now we need to start reinstalling it to the bike. One thing I did forget to do before we install it is to readjust the fuel mixture screw. So I've seated it, so it's just nice. Now we're going to go quarter, half, 3/4, 1. And then for me, I'm just going to go 1/8. So that is it, fully done. So this is ready to go back onto the bike, and let's start that installing process now. So now we start the reassembling process. So that screw there, which is the idle adjustment screw, just screws into the side of the carby and lifts up the throttle slide. So here's the throttle slide here, and that's the little thing it lifts up on. So it's a nice slope. So that's actually got to line up with that screw, so it'll go straight down, and the pin's got to go down the main jet, so you might be able to see it straight down there. The pin actually goes into the main jet, so we've got to make sure it goes straight down. So we've got the air off, so to the side, and just pushing a wire off, and we'll just slide it up in there now. Can get my fingers in there, that'll be even better. Just dropping the pin in so we can slide it up. You probably can't see much at the moment, but we'll just bring it up. Bring the camera around a bit. Up we go. So that's dropped right in there nicely, which is good. Let's sit up for a minute. So if we can screw that on, it's just going to need to come up a bit higher to do that. It's catching on the back here somewhere. Oh, there we are. She's right up there now. Yeah, come on. Hit a screw. Come on. There we go. Yeah, so she's sitting right down in there now, so we'll just screw the top back on. And put the camera back over here for a minute. Readjust. Okay, so now we're just doing the same process but in reverse. So just screwing the top on, just get it on straight so I don't strip the thread. Yeah, come on. There we go. Because the cable goes up under the petrol tank, it's already on a bit of an angle, so it doesn't like going on straight. Right, get this back on. So the top's on. I'm just going to sit one of the nuts on it so it doesn't fall off or anything. Put them on the same way. And so nothing goes down there. So I've put the choke on, so that will shut the butterfly, so nothing can actually physically go down there. just a habit I like to get into. We'll put the nut on the other side, but we haven't tightened them yet, so I can do that from this side. Check down. So we'll tighten them later. Okay, so now what? What do we got? Oh, the back here. So if we put this on now, we need to get our little washery sort of hose clamp, that's what it's called. Wipe that off. Okay, so when I pulled it off the first time, the thread was like that, so it made it a bit awkward to get it off. So I'm going to put it down like that, so I can easily get to it from the other side. So if we sit it on the carby, it might be best. I can just sit on there. We'll push this over. There, my baby. Now it's going to be hard to get it all equal because it is a very stiff rubber. Might be better if I go over the other side of the bike and standing up on it so I can see it down from the top here. And we're just going to be pushing it and playing with it until it goes on. So at the moment I'm trying to get the O-ring onto the actual rubber, so I can just slide it on. It's half on it. I'm still not real happy. It's on it all the way around, but over here. So we might even get a little screwdriver. Yeah, I'll use my flathead screwdriver and just try and lift it up on there. Oh, it just hit the camera. I think that's up and over it. See if the clamp just wants to slide over. I think I put it over the clamp. Oops. Oh no, I didn't. Did I? No. Yeah, come on. So I think it's all up on. Now it should just slide over. I'm just going to go to the other side of the bike again. It should just pop on, but it's not, so why not? Come on. There, my baby. It's just the fact of wiggling it up and down and trying to get it over there. Tussles are in the way. No, something's wrong here. Oh, it's still not popped over fully. That's why. Up the top here, not popped over. I think that just clicked. That should just pop on now. Should just pop on. Not pop off, pop on. Yeah, I don't think it's flicked over on the other side now. I've got it on one side, but not the other. Yeah. It's all a bit awkward with the choke and all that around here too. Fingers crossed that works now. Should be quite an easy process to just slide it on. Yeah, so that's fully on now. It was just the fact that the whole rubber grommet sort of thing just didn't go over it. So now I've got that thing, I'm just little hose clamp, I'm just gonna wiggle it up into the divotty sort of surface, and I'll tighten that up later. So now we've got 3 hoses that go onto it. We're just going to slide that one on. So I've tightened up the hose clamp. I have put on all the hoses, so there's 3 hoses, and I'm just tightening up the nuts onto the motor at the moment. So now that all is left to do is put the seat and both side covers back on, which I'll do that now. Now all the side covers and the seat are all back on the bike. I've already started it up. It started about 4th kick and it ran really nicely. It blew quite a bit of smoke, but I was happy with that because we've just had a lot of fuel and all that all through the carby. Thanks for watching my video on how to clean the carby.